The New Orleans Saints are the last team looking for a head coach, and maybe their coach is coaching in the Super Bowl, Kellen Moore. Usually when you have candidates who take their name out of the running, that usually means they're taking their name out because their name is already out. Mike McCarthy says he will focus on 2026, maybe getting a job. But Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator for the Commanders, said that he's going to stay with the Commanders. It feels like it's Kellen Moore's job. I don't know if there's any other candidates. Kellen Moore can go to New Orleans and stay in New Orleans after the Super Bowl. Day after the Super Bowl, win or lose, hold a press conference, and you got all the members of the media there, get a lot of publicity for the Saints there. But Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, formerly with the Cowboys, spent some time with the Chargers, and now maybe headed to the New Orleans Saints. And we focused a lot yesterday on press conferences and that initial reaction. When you see your team just hired somebody, and you go, I love seeing Pete Carroll up there if I'm a Raiders fan. Liam Cohen, I don't know anything about him. Seems a little quirky, but maybe he's a mad scientist. Maybe he can help our quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, the way he did Baker Mayfield. And then you had the Cowboys situation. Aaron Glenn was fiery with the Jets, and you're like, yeah, he's one of us. He understands us. This is great. And then the Cowboys situation. So out of all of those, I don't look at this as an indictment on Liam Cohen because he was a little goofy. Aaron Glenn, fiery. We've seen Dan Campbell when he was fiery. Remember Nick Sirianni? He stumbled all through his press conference. We've had these moments like you want to win the press conference. And Pete Carroll's going to win a press conference. He's going to have energy in there, chomping on the gum there. And I think there's a sense of stability there that he provides. The Cowboys, that to me is more troubling because that's really a snapshot of what I think is going to happen as long as Brian Schottenheimer is going to be the head coach of the Cowboys. Jerry Jones, he dominated the press conference. And I said this yesterday. I mean, I've been around this 40 years. I've been to press conferences with some of the biggest names in all the sports. And that one was one where I was troubled by it because Jerry obviously doesn't read the room. And he probably feels like he doesn't have to. Here's Brian Schottenheimer. It's his moment. He got to be a head coach in the NFL. You're coaching the Cowboys. Your dad would have been so proud. He gets emotional. And then Jerry comes in and has to talk about his dad, and then he gets emotional. And I just felt bad for Brian Schottenheimer because I think we're going to look at him through that lens that is, yeah, but Jerry's still the GM and the head coach there. He just is. And that, to me, felt like, get used to this. Aaron Glenn, I liked it. I mean, come on in. Let's go. I mean, you're going to be aggressive. You're going to be taking names, getting receipts. Great. I love it. Liam Cohen, still, it was awkward, but it was entertaining. I don't know if he's likable because there's still wait a minute, were you supposed to be going back to Tampa and then you got on a plane and, hopefully your son's healthy? Like, that to me was just a little bit of a mess there. But, you move past. If you win, you move past all these things. And certainly that opening press conference where we tend to put a little too much credibility on that or, oh, my God, did you see our coach? I just want to know, can you coach? Maybe you can't deal with the media. Can you coach? That's really the most important. You can be charismatic as hell going to those press conferences. If your team's not any good, you won't be charismatic too long in front of the media. Yes, Paul?
I went back and looked, and you're right. The Sirianni reviews after his press conferences were not good. And a lot of it, they said, we don't know a lot about these assistant coaches. They don't do interviews. So sometimes, at least America, it's the first time you see them. And Sirianni got roughed up. Dan Campbell was mixed reviews. Some people liked his and some people said, well, is this guy a coach or just a motivator?
I think we were laughing at and with, maybe. It was, oh, gosh, did you see that? And we're thinking, well, the Lions, it's the Lions, biting kneecaps. But, hey, they made him Super Bowl contenders. So nobody's laughing at him now. And Aaron Glenn came in there. He was on the staff with Dan Campbell and probably thought, hey, that's how he coaches. I can coach the same way and I can have success with the Jets. Woody Johnson is the owner of the Jets, and he spoke to the media, and he talked about what he needs to do next season.
I have to look in the mirror and I have to be a better owner. And I'm trying to be better. And I do self-scout, and a lot of people scout for me, you know. I've got to have patience or whatever. I've got to let them evolve as in these positions, which I think they will. I think it'll be quick, but I think they'll evolve.
Okay, so Woody Johnson needs to be a better owner. 5 weeks ago today, there was an article that came out on The Athletic from Diana Rossini. This is a deep dive on the Jets and just how messed up they are. And I don't know if Woody Johnson, owner, billionaire, don't tell me what to do, looked at that and actually looked in the mirror. Because I would have said to him, if he said, hey, I got to look in the mirror and be a better owner, what is it that you did before that you need to improve upon, Woody? Because he really needs to let people do their jobs. I find that the more an owner is involved, the less successful you are. Because it's hard to work that way if somebody's always there over your shoulder. I mean, even with the Danettes, the guys that I have in the back room, you got to let them do their job. And if they make a mistake, then, you correct them and then you hope that it doesn't happen again. But if you're always there, if you're omnipresent, you just can't let somebody be themselves. And I think that is the problem sometimes, certainly with the Cowboys. With the Jets, I mean, Woody Johnson, his sons are involved in decisions. Did they go into the locker room and they're talking trash to the players? But 5 weeks ago today, that article came out. And maybe Woody Johnson says, let me take a step back. I think that would be beneficial for the Jets. Mark Davis is the owner of the Raiders, and he talked about the impact of Tom Brady.
Bringing in Tom Brady was bringing in somebody that was on the football side that I had been lacking having here at the organization. Back in, I guess it was 18 with John Gruden. He was somebody that I brought in and really expected to be that person on the football side that would bring stability to the organization. He had a 10-year contract and all that, and his head was chopped off. And we were put in a really bad position as an organization.
Head was chopped off. Yeah, I was told a while ago, in fact, said it here, that Brady was running the team. This is his. And that's not a question now. Everybody knows that that's the case. That Tom was going to be involved in who the coach was going to be and certainly what are they going to do at the quarterbacking position. But Mark Davis is smart to let Tom Brady do this. These guys are smart to get where they are, to have that money, to buy a team. I don't know why they just get dumb. And I think it's because it's sports. And they're like, well, I know sport. Like Jerry Jones played at Arkansas back in the 60s. He was a lineman. That doesn't mean that he knows what he's doing with football just because he played. I played basketball. That doesn't mean I could be a GM or a coach, but I understand the game. But Jerry, hey, I played. You didn't. Okay. But that doesn't mean he should be involved in the day-to-day. And that's part of the problem here. Hey, I'm smart. I got $1 billion or two or three or four. Therefore, I guess I can be smart in football as well. It's different. It's so different than I'm running a business. This is a different monster that you're trying to run. Yeah, Pauline.
I've always had a theory. I mentioned to you before. There's a lot of billionaires in our country, but I think a lot of billionaires still would love to be famous and known for what they do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them, that's why they buy teams. Of course, it's a great investment. It's the best investment. But there's some, I don't know if Mark Cuban, that was part of his plan, but it worked, or just by default. But guys like Jerry Jones and Arthur Blank and some of them, they want to be seen. They want to do press conferences. They want to talk. They want to be heard and known because you can't necessarily buy fame in our country.
Well, just ask Dan Snyder. He got $6 billion for his team, and he's probably miserable because he's not Dan Snyder and nobody cares. Donald Sterling, no one cares. But they did care because you were the owner of my team. But being a billionaire, great. being a billionaire who owns a team, now all of a sudden people look at you differently that way.